in the USVI, tourism is at the heart of our economy as other Caribbean islands. And one lesson that this pandemic has taught us is that the cruise industry is critical to the success of our tourism products. We've had a great partnership with Royal Caribbean before, during the pandemic, and hopefully as we move into the post-pandemic phase. Royal Caribbean has been a partner with us from before the pandemic, when we signed our agreement in 2016, our berthing agreement with the Port Authority. And most recently in September, we built upon that agreement by extending that berthing agreement. And they also agreed to partner with the U.S. Virgin Islands government to improve our tourism product. And today we have an extra special announcement that's going to solidify that partnership that we've been building with Royal Caribbean over the years. First, we'll have Mrs. Janie Halcombe, Development Director of Royal Caribbean Group, who will share those exciting details with you.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Monifa, for the introduction. My name is Janie Halcombe. I'm with the Royal Caribbean Group. It's such a pleasure to be here today with the St. Thomas and St. Croix and all of the USVI team. As Monifa mentioned, we have been partnering with the USVI team for many, many years, including our agreement that dates back to 2016. Throughout the pandemic, we were partnering also with the community to prepare everybody for our return to service, which has been going swimmingly. We've sent thousands of passengers back to the USVI since our return to service a year ago, and we're really pleased about that. And last year we did sign our memorandum of understanding that enables us to align on our short-term and long-term strategic goals that will help build growth between the USVI and Royal Caribbean Group, and specifically into Croix Bay. We have some really exciting projects in the pipeline, and to accompany those projects, we are going to piggyback that with some really exciting passenger growth that we're going to be sending to the USVI starting next year. So pre-pandemic numbers, in St. Thomas, we're going to be sending up to 70% more passengers to Croix Bay. And in St. Croix, we are going to almost triple our passenger volume. As the Frederick said here. But like I said, we are thrilled with what we have been working on for short and long-term goals, and we are so excited to announce the additional passenger volume growth to the USVI starting next year. So thank you.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Joe Basholti, Commissioner of Tourism for the United States Virgin Islands. On behalf of Governor Albert Bryan, Lieutenant Governor Roach, I extend greatest appreciation to Royal Caribbean for all they've done for the territory pre-Hurricanes Irma Maria. During our rebound from Hurricanes Irma Maria, I think Justice, when you first came in to assist us in getting beaches back in order so the ships could sail again. And then now where we are 2022, where we made a big initial announcement last September. And now we followed up with this Seatrade with this one. Also want to take the opportunity to thank Executive Director Dow, Board Chair Mr. John, all of the VIPA board members for all they continue to do in stewarding the relationship with Royal Caribbean and Celebrity Cruise Lines on behalf of the U.S. Virgin Islands. The announcement is awesome news for us. I think if people out there in the world didn't know that the USVI cruise side has come back to life, you know now that we are back open and we are growing exponentially. I think that the news is even more welcoming for us who do business on St. Croix. To hear that the business is almost tripling, not doubling, but tripling on St. Croix is welcoming news, because that not only means that we have more passengers coming to St. Croix, that means that the investment in the cruise excursion side especially should start to begin now that there is an understandable throughput that's going to be coming through. And I'll close by saying, as the lead tourism person for the U.S. Virgin Islands, this is exciting news for us, because prior to the pandemic, 70% of all visitors that came to the United States Virgin Islands on vacation came via cruise ship. So it has, for as long as I've been around, played a major role in not only the livelihood of those that are close to the cruise space, the retailers, the taxi drivers, etc., but also all of the other people, the families, the restaurants that the workers go through that nobody sees. They only see what the tourists do, but all of the workers who sustain their livelihood on this, it's important. So thank you again, Royal Caribbean, for doing all you do for the United States Virgin Islands. Thank you, Executive Director Dow, Chairman John, and the Port Authority entire team that's here for all you do to continue to sustain not only the cruise ship business, but the tourism business in the USVI. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Boshelton. Next, we'll have remarks from the Port Authority Board Chairperson, Mr. Willard Johns.
Good morning, everybody. I too, on behalf of the board, is very excited about these significant and positive changes that will help us here in the Virgin Islands. We're glad to know that the visitors will have opportunity to be increased on all 3 islands. And you know, all of our islands, the 3 of our islands that are inhabited, we have similarities, but we also have differences. And this gives us an opportunity to clearly demonstrate our differences. And on behalf of St. Croix, because it's tripling, we are all trying to get ready on all 3 islands for people to experience, 1, the topography and the geography of our islands, 2, the people of our islands, and 3, our culture. So we are ready to accept and demonstrate our positive attributes. Thank you.
Next, we will have the Vice President of Destination Development, Mr. Josh Carroll, from the Royal Caribbean Group.
Thank you. You know, it feels like it was really recent. I keep thinking it was a year ago, but luckily it was just in September that we signed the MOU, which we've made a lot of progress since then. And the number one thing, the objective of that agreement was to collectively grow the tourism business in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And the number one and fastest contributor that we as a company are able to contribute is our passenger volume. And so we acted upon that very quickly, tripling our volume into St. Croix. As Jamie said, almost 70% increase in St. Thomas. And our entire philosophy and our entire approach to this is about enabling growth. The U.S. Virgin Islands, as it is today, is already a destination that our guests love and have an amazing time when they go. And our responsibility as the largest tourist provider to the U.S. Virgin Islands is to work hand in hand with the local community, the private sector, and the government to enable that growth and ensure that as that growth comes, our guests continue to love the U.S. Virgin Islands and continue to want to go back. And that's what we're doing. The partnership is second to none throughout the world for us. It means a lot to us. Every time I come, they take me to a new restaurant that I come home raving about and needing to go back. And there's a common theme here of me talking about the food every time we get together. But for obvious reasons, you can tell by looking at me, it's something I enjoy. So we love our partnership. We really want it to be an example for the world of how a cruise company and a destination can work together to grow the pie and ensure that that population is getting a disproportionately large piece of the pie. And that's our goal, and we're going to do it, and are doing it, and are looking forward to continuing that. So thank you for your partnership and the opportunity to work together.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. You're welcome anytime to eat in the Virgin Islands. And next we have the man at the helm of the day-to-day operations of the Virgin Islands Port Authority, our Executive Director, Mr. Carlton Dow.
Thank you. Let us stand up. Good afternoon to all and the people in the United States Virgin Islands listening. Before I get started, I really want to recognize the people who steer the ship at the Port Authority, led by our chairperson, Mr. Willard John. Please give Mr. John a round of applause again. I have Ms. Leona Smith, another board member. Leona, please wave. We have Mr. Lionel Jacobs. Mr. Jacobs, please. And we have the Calypso King of the world that I call my good friend and partner, Celestino White Sr. Give it up for Celestino. And the reason I take the time out to do that is simply because we could have a staff, whatever goals, dreams, whatever we might want to do. But it takes a governing body who is prepared to work and give the policies and the directives that we should all follow. So I really appreciate working with them. I can't go much further without recognizing, of course you heard from the Commissioner of Tourism before, Mr. Joe Bushelter, our partner. And all the board members from WIPA, I see a few of them around here. Mr. Tony Atley, I want to recognize all of them. But I also want to make this public, our public, recognize that this is a partnership between the private sector and government. And how, when we talk about private sector and the government, the senators, and we have a few of them present, they play a critical role. Because in the dark days of the Port Authority, we kind of lean on the legislature. And Governor Albert Bryan, all of us must be in this together. And as I recognize, I look out there and I can't help and I want him to wave, because this is an opportunity we have to say to our public and the people at large. When you see the cruise ship, people say, well, the cruise ship come, what does that mean? I just see some folks gone in a taxi. But it's our job to educate and make sure that folks recognize and understand what that product, what that ship coming to our port means. We've got to do that in a secure fashion. So I'm glad to see Commissioner Ray Martinez, who we invited. That's our Commissioner of Police. He is here because we are serious about making sure people have a good and safe time when they come to our island. I also want to recognize when the ships pull up, everybody talk about the nice food on the cruise ship. But how does that food get here? And for that, we have in our presence today, Mr. Tim Martin from Tropical Shipping. Give it up for Tim Martin, wave please. And the reason I'm taking the time is because I want the public to understand the correlation between all these things. When the cruise ship wasn't coming, our cargo. Simply put, in St. Thomas, is used expressly for transshipment to other. So when that happens, it affects tropical. So that's the part that a lot of times the public don't see. And by affecting tropical, you're affecting the employees at tropical as well. And so this domino effect today is great news. We're not out of the woods. By no stretch our economic situation have rebounded. We are trying to get back, so we still face challenges. But this news today, that Royal Caribbean, don't take this as no small light matter. Let's go to St. Croix. The only cruise ship going into St. Croix today is Royal Caribbean. Give it up for them. And as we talk, you know, as we have in our discussion, we have to agree sometimes to disagree. And one of the things we stress, and when 3 weeks ago when Janie came to St. Thomas and met with Governor Albert Bryan and his folks, one of the things we made abundantly clear, we know St. Croix needs some traffic. They made a commitment from the time we signed that MOU that we will see an increase in St. Croix. In fact, be told, I couldn't imagine it would have been threefold. So we must really recognize the commitment Royal Caribbean have just made in St. Croix. Give it up for Royal Caribbean again. In 2019, at the maximum height, St. Croix saw 50,000 cruise passengers in 2019. And we're saying next year from 50,000 passengers. So when you talk about the percenting, I want to break it down. We want a percent. I saw Vincent Fraser, my attorney, going on his calculator. No. So from 50,000 now going, that went in 2019, today 140,000 will be visiting St. Croix next year. That is commitment. And in St. Thomas, we see about, we had about 450, around 500,000 in 2019. The commitment right now for the next season is 750,000. But here is what I'm excited about, and I really want to thank you guys for. As we start to talk about how could we do some things that are different. A lot of the guests that comes to St. Thomas in particular are repeat guests. What we can do to make them want to come off the ship. And that's where birthed the idea from Royal and the show excursion people. I see Tony someplace around. The excursion people, you know what? This has nothing to do with the small vessels that go up to St. John. That will continue. But what we are saying, that will be augmented every 2 weeks by a trip that would run from door to door, which means folks will get on from in Croix Bay and go straight into Cruz Bay. 400 passengers each time from Royal Caribbean direct to St. John. So all 3 islands will be benefiting as a result of this relationship. So once again, I really want to thank the Brian Roads administration. I want to thank all those employees who work at the Port Authority. And we have a bunch of them here today, and a lot is back home carrying on the business. But from a sincere position, none of this could happen without working on and developing true partnership. From the folks that work at WIPA to the Port Authority, and I could never forget the people that own the mall at Havenside. They are here with us, dress up nice. This Asia Clendening good one. Clendening Gums. She like to remind me. Gums. I was one stand up next to her. Anyhow, folks, we really welcome each and every one of you here. The private sector, the public sector, and all the people who participate. I saw, as I was walking through, a bunch of folks from the excursion industry, which means they are the people. One thing COVID did for the Virgin Islands is it gave us a greater appreciation for the waters in which we live in. Because tour groups started coming up, people who wasn't doing anything on the sea started to do certain excursions, so all of that would be a part. The taxi drivers, you need not worry. You're still going to get what's coming off. But what we had to do is diversify the way people move around the territory. We can't keep running from the water. Water must be a part of how we move our people back and forth. So on behalf of the Virgin Islands Port Authority, I see my good friend, we're glad to be carried live by the Vibes Sheldon Turnbull. We're glad you're here. And you know, I'm going to end on this note, you know, Josh and Gian. This is a tough time for people of the Virgin Islands to be away from home. Because as I speak to you today, we missing Juve morning, we missing food fair, we missing parade, but guess what? We have got to deal with our bread and butter and bring it back home to the people of the Virgin Islands. We thank each and every one of you. Senator Gittins present, Senator Parker present, Senator Carrion, and I saw the Senate President earlier. We welcome all of you and we thank you and look forward to your continuous support. Why that guy in the back, his head is balding, saying what about me? All right, good morning, Sensi David. Touching lives. Take care, God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Dow. What an exciting time to be a Virgin Islander. We will now open the floor to any media that has any questions. Is there anyone that has a question for either Royal Caribbean Group or the Port Authority? Okay, we'll start here with Miss. Can you please come forward?
I'm Charlotte Atkins.
Go to the mic.
I'll ask you to state your name and the publication you work.
I'm Charlotte Atkins. I'm publisher of St. Thomas, St. John This Week magazine, and I have a question for Mr. Dow. I know that this has been a challenging time for our island, but challenges are often opportunities. So I know the Port Authority has been very busy working on improvements. So when visitors come to our islands, both at the cruise docks and the airport, what improvements have been made during this pause time to enhance the visitor arrival experience, whether it's by plane or cruise ship?
Thank you. We've done quite a bit of refurbishing at our airports. Let's go to the airports. One can't help but driving down to the airport and seeing the biggest transportation center being built in St. Thomas. We have an issue with parking and so forth in St. Croix. We just opened a brand new departure lounge. We spent some $9 million building that. It's a nice guest experience. We have redone a lot of cosmetic stuff at the King Airport, and we continue to do so. But there's been a lot of work throughout the territory. We're doing some refurbishment right now. We have to do some work on our ports and our docks. We are fendering, putting brand new fenders, the whole waterfront. We'll be getting new fenders. Of course, you see the wonderful job that the government did with that nice waterfront drive. But so all in all, we continue to work. But in order to do these jobs, to do these construction projects, the money must flow. This has been a real challenging time, but the Port Authority have $63 million worth of project. Mr. Tim Martin from Tropical, when his goods come in, they have to be stored somewhere. We just got a conquering property where we're doing a partnership right now with Tropical Shipping. Some $21.9 million to be spent in our cargo facility area, and we could go on, I could talk till tomorrow. $63 million in infrastructure being spent as we speak today in St. Croix. Brand new warehouses for Tim Martin, for Tropical Shipping, moving the cargo. And I'm glad you asked the question, because one of the things we will be doing in St. Croix, and we have some bookings already have started for the small cruise ships to come into Gallows Bay. What we have done there, we're moving all cargo activity from in Gallows Bay, and that will be moving over to the Molasses Pier. That building will be opening sometime in June. So St. Croix, Royal, some of your subsidiaries who have smaller boat, we are hoping for business in St. Croix, in the Gallows Bay area. So the work at the port don't stop. $63 million in construction being done as we speak today in St. Croix.
Thank you, Mr. Dow. Please state your name and the publication you work.
Hi, I'm Lois Pasternak, Travel Markets Insider. I may be asking this question too early, but do you know which ships will be coming to St. Thomas and St. Croix yet?
Thank you for the question. So St. Thomas can accommodate the largest ships on Earth. So those are what we call our Oasis class ships, and everything smaller than that. And also, potentially, in the very near future, our newest class of ship, called Icon of the Seas, would also be operating in the Caribbean and coming to St. Thomas. Now, St. Croix can hold to what we call our Voyager class ships. So those are up to 3,000 passengers. Actually, Voyager of the Seas will be a ship that will be frequenting St. Croix very often. And as we discussed with our partners at VIPA, over time we may see larger ships being able to go to St. Croix as well. But we're growing the land experience first so that we can modestly accept that larger footprint of the ship over time.
Sheldon Trumbull, one of the important NFM Divide. A question, I know in September when you guys spoke, you talked about some landside investments. Are those still on track, or do you have any more information you can give us on those?
They are absolutely on track. As we mentioned, our goal is to accommodate growth, right? And that project touches every part of the guest experience when a guest comes into the USVI. We're working diligently on those land projects. We've identified not only space within the port area, but also other locations throughout the U.S. Virgin Islands, and are working diligently on planning those in collaboration with VIPA and the local community. It's very important to us that our guests, when they come, have the authentic experience that they're looking for in the USVI. So we're seeking out those partners. Sometimes you have to sequence things in an order of operations where you can't get certain parts of the project out too far of others. But we are working diligently on that and look forward to having big announcements on those, or I should say big details on those, coming up in the very near future.
A very good afternoon. My name is Maria. I'm the Vice President of Island Networks. We are the port agent and the shore excursion for our Caribbean. And this question is from Mr. Down. I would like to know when it will be possible again for the transportation to access the pier in order to give a better service to our guests that come out of the ship. Since before the COVID, our transportation, our shore excursions will be able to board directly from on board in front of the gangway. And now, of course, we have to have the crews living outside the port. Several guests are very old people and they require extra time to walk, and it will be very important that we could have the transportation allowed inside the pier again, to not only for the shore excursion guests but for the independent guests as well, in terms of service, and to help them to have a better experience in St. Croix. Thank you.
Thank you. And I suspect, I know some of my staff is listening, so it shouldn't be long that you go back down to St. Croix, you wouldn't have access to the pier. That's how we operate. It's down now. Okay? Down now.
Yes.
So we will make sure that you guests, we could access the pier. We have a mode of transportation that we're working on to for folks that you might not pick up, but other folks who might have some challenge and want to get outside here. So staff is listening, and that's what they're getting paid to do. That will happen. But I also want to tell you, I'm glad you mentioned the pier. Through the legislature of the Virgin Islands and signed into law by Governor Albert Bryan, the Port Authority received some $2 million. And that $2 million is to rebuild the entire the pier that the tour operator leave from. So you have what we call the tender landing pier. That's where your water operators go to. That had been destroyed and mashed up from the hurricane. And I'm telling you that the contract has already been let. We have already selected a contractor, so you wouldn't have to be worrying about the safety and how secure. And we even extend that area for the water tour operators would have a bigger area now to operate from. Construction will be starting probably within the next 30 to 40 days. But that contract had already been let. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Dow. Any more questions?
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry.
A few questions. What is the equivalent of ships? I know you said 140,000 to St. Croix now. What is the equivalent of that in ships to St. Croix annually?
So on average, the ships are going to be between 2,000 and 3,000 guests. So let's say about on average 2,500 divided by the 140,000 is 60 or so, 50 to 60 calls, right? Up from whatever the number was, 20 or so. And we see this as a beginning, not an end. So you can see us over time increasing those numbers, but again, the economic impact and the impact on the tour operators and the restaurants and whatnot really is measured in people, and so that's how we think.
So that's total, not in addition to the 20, that's just a total right now.
That's right.
Okay. This one is for Mr. Dow.
You need it, Mike.
All right. So Mr. Dow, in terms of preparation at St. Croix specifically, you know, St. Thomas has an infrastructure for cruise tourism for a long time. St. Croix, you know, we've been a while. We've had cruises, but not as many as St. Croix, and our infrastructure, you know, to facilitate passengers, it's not as developed. What are the plans to facilitate that and to make sure that the guest experience is good in St. Croix?
I appreciate that question because it gave me the opportunity to tell the public that just 2 weeks ago, and that was the latest visit, but Royal and their team, Melissa, everybody, have been on the ground in St. Croix, meeting with government officials and the Chamber of Commerce, the business community, because business too have to participate. They must look at this as opportunity for St. Croix. One of the best kept secrets, I tell them up to this day, I can't recognize why, as simple as it may seem, why St. Croix can't get a Kontiki? You go from beach to beach, the steel band and it. They love that, it's what they love. But at the same time, I want to also say that Commissioner Calvert White met with Janie and her staff, Mr. Willard John. We had a complete set of people out of St. Croix who took them around and did had certain discussion. Royal Caribbean has committed to sports parks and recreation that they are going to help, not help with mouth, they are going to help with getting that entire beachfront, get it fixed up, get it cleaned up, and whatever they might see that would be necessary. I know in the meetings too, they talk about, I think the folks on the Orchid Society, that was one of the places they were supposed to visit, because we have some very nice kept secret in St. Croix. The botanical garden, these are things people visit, people are part of that Orchid Society. They had the opportunity to do that and go there. So whatever the experience is, whether it's touring Diageo, whether it's touring Cruz, looking to see how the rum is actually made and produced, because all of us know that that rum being produced in the territory is a big and vital part of our economy.
What's the time right?
I want to also add that we are going to be planning a series of meetings with interagencies as well as the private industry, all the stakeholders, so that we can look at what these numbers look like and how we can best accommodate them. We particularly want to meet with taxi drivers to make sure they have the capacity to deal with our passengers, as well as the proper training. So all these things are going to be in place. We're going to meet immediately to make sure that we are able to accept our guests.
And this begins when? This new capacity, the new arrivals, when are we going to see?
We're already sending several of our calls to St. Croix today, but as of next year, when our capacities we expect them to be at their maximum, you could count on 2023 that we will have 140,000 passengers coming into St. Croix.
You know, one of the most important ways that we as a cruise company can invest, and I say that in air quotes, is we often, and a number of our partners tell us, we want to invest in new buses or new transportation mechanisms, but there isn't enough consistent guest traffic for us to feel confident in that investment. So it's going to have to happen organically, but that's the commitment that we're making, is to continue bringing the traffic so that the folks locally feel confident to make that investment, which will inherently have a virtuous cycle of the guest experience becoming more and more appealing, which will create more investment and hence an increase in volume as time goes on. So it's not just a thing that happens all at once, it's organic, it happens over time and requires partnership from us as a cruise company to help coordinate the logistics and ensure that the land operation is successful as possible. But that's our biggest commitment, and what we are looking to is to enable that growth from the local entrepreneur community to be able to ensure our guests have a great time.
Well, thank you, Royal Caribbean Group, for your continued commitment to the people of the Virgin Islands and also to the Port Authority Board, to include our Tourism Commissioner, for all the hard work you do for the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you to everyone who chose to join us here today, and you can follow us online, viport.com, for more information, and visit USVI for information about the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you for joining us here today.